Tilted Weirdo. I'm here with Kevin Scott to discuss and record ideas on the multiverse structure using the matter to antimatter mutual destruction aspect. We're going to go over a few topics real quick, make sure my marker works. Got enough? Okay, so if we use red for matter, and if we use blue for antimatter, we have a line in between that produces E, energy left over. So this matter to antimatter line we are going to call N. That represents a single space of destruction when contact happens. Now, whenever it comes to the multiverse itself, we're going to use a green circle. This is one universe, okay? But like our matter to antimatter line, we're going to begin it with a opposite, a anti-universe. So this anti-universe, we're going to have, say, a reverse time flow. It's going to start outside and head towards the middle of the sphere. So it flows this way while our universe flows this way, like our antimatter and matter could differ by simple spin direction in relative relation. Meaning, we can't tell our spin unless we see our antimatter to matter particle relations. So one spin can seem bidirectional upon observance. Now, we now have another N. But we're not going to focus on that N. We are going to focus on N in here. N plus N equals 2N. Now we need to develop time. Or 2 to the N if N equals T, time. And we now have 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64 in each of our multiverse settings. Meaning, as long as we have an anti-universe idea, any kind of an anti-universe idea, which is supported by our matter to antimatter relations, we have an availability to allow time to progress to create a multiverse structure. Now this is where things get a little funner, and we're going to turn to our next board. Because we are using R2, I'm going to switch markers real quick. Okay, so we got R2, right? And we used 2 to the N equals T, T equals time. So, in math exists an equation using 2N, that is 2 to the N equals 1/2 to the negative N, and we can also write it 2 to the negative N equals 1/2 to the N. Now we're going to do something else. We're going to go 2 to the N. We're going to go, let's go down here for 2 to the negative n. And let's go over here. Let's go 1/2 to the negative n. And let's go 1/2 to the n. Now, what we have is a system where my marker's going dry. I'm going to switch. Where we have negative n to n, creating a looping mechanism, which would be infinity. If you notice, infinity is 2 circles that loop. And what we have here allows us to loop around in many different platforms, creating a square. A square is our second enclosed object on our shapes, triangle being our first. But what we see is a point equals 1 dimension, a line equals 2 dimensions, or 2 points added together with a space in between them. And then we have our triangle, which adds a third point but adds 2 lines. Now, some of the principles that I will share with you here phi has a max system, I do believe, that when we do it to certain ways, we get now this is not an exact route to energy, but gets us within 0.006 and some change, which makes me beg the question, could Collat's conjecture, which 4 to 1, 2 to the 2, 2 to the 1, 2 to the 0.5, be a way for energy to become mass and mass to come back to energy? Could mass work as a inertia reserve, a battery stockpile of the very energy? Well, if we use n as energy, 2n as mass, 2n plus 1 as our third party mass or neutron, we see that we have our universe, a universe created from a simple system of energy, where energy has inertia reserve, regular inertia, works like our mathematical positive whole numbers, and then negatives, and then fractions. Now if we compare 2n and 2n plus 1, we can see that we have a moving zero. 2n equals 0, where n equals 0. 2n plus 1 equals 1, where n equals 0. 2n equals 1, where n equals 0.5, but that equals 2 for 2n plus 1. And this difference is literally our matter to antimatter line, repeated. This stepping system, along with our 2 to the n equals 1/2 to the negative n, is useful with our distance, time, and speed equation, because time is relatively constant. Our actions cannot directly affect the amount of time that passes in our relative area. So it's more constant than the distance that we can edit and the speed that nature can force into reaction. So if we have our distance between two objects, they must double their speed if they move in a spherical setting that allows a perpetual chase. Now, a perpetual chase is actually very easy to describe. It is simply recircling your same route. And that is what most of our infinities will do in 2D, because we can't see them in 3D on a flat surface unless we modify it and invent special rules. But what we can see is that we have a plane here, 3D plus 3D equals 4D, which is another line, except it's not opposites. That is our original 2N line. When we approach mathematics, the more rules we try to apply, when we approach physics, the more rules we try to apply, the more we narrow our areas of working. And we have to ask if history has not been swayed, misled, or misunderstood in ways that make our search for the answers to the universe harder. Perpetual systems work like a triangle. You need 3 parts to go to full up. And we have 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines confirming that perpetuality is our system behind time. All according to how we interact with our negative, how our universe rolls out itself, and all based on the distance between our matter and antimatter gap. I am Kilty Weirdo. This has been a pleasure to spit this idea to you. I hope you have an amazing day. And if you ever feel like you don't matter, like I have many times before, I want you to realize that you do matter to the people in your lives, that without you, it won't have as much glee. It'll have a place missing, and that's no matter who you are. The easiest smile that comes to my face is whenever I'm kind to another. So I'm kind just to be kind, not for any reward. So whenever I say, I hope you have a nice day, I hope you know I mean it. You are loved, and we'll get through this together, anything we face. As long as we love each other before we hate each other. I see more reasons to love you than I see to hate you. I may not always like you, but I ain't gonna hate you because you're alive and tomorrow's a new day for another chance. This is Kilted Weirdo signing off.